I used to be a Muslim, right? Just like many of you, and I respect that. It's a really good religion. It's very well constructed. It's very, well respected, and it makes a lot of sense. And it's just hard to find problems in it. Like I really thought there wouldn't be problems. So, but there's this time in my life where I decided to and go find problems. Like I decided to see because you need to make sure you're right? Like if you're gonna have iman, right? If you're gonna make sure, you need to make sure. So I went and did that, and I noticed quite few problems that I want to talk about, if that's okay.
First, you said you're a Muslim because I have people who are saying here that you are
I
not
used
really
to
what
be.
you're saying you are. Yeah, yeah. You used to be a Muslim,
I used to be.
and
Yes.
I have people here who are saying things which are
Hmm.
opposite to that. So, since you used to be a Muslim, is it okay if we ask you some questions about Islam and its teachings and how do you practice Islam
Go
and
ahead. Test me.
Sure, okay. All right, let me see what I want to ask you.
Hmm.
Do you know the 6 articles of faith?
The six what?
Do you know the 6 articles of faith?
No, I don't know it by English. I studied the religion in Arabic because I'm, still learning English. But no. What do you
Okay,
mean? What are the
I'm not.
six articles?
No, me telling you would defeat the purpose. Okay. Do you
Okay.
know? Okay. All right. Let's see what else I can ask you that is not too difficult and at the same time, so I cannot do injustice to you. Let's just say.
I
Can you
feel I
confirm?
feel
Did
very
you say?
investigated. Go ahead.
Oh, you saying what? Sorry, you're what?
I said I feel very investigated. Like I can ask you
Oh,
the
so you know a
questions.
lot. So you're saying you know
Hmm?
a lot. What are you saying?
No, no. I said I feel very investigated because you're investigating me.
Oh no, we're just confirming what you say because there's so many people who lie about the fact that they were Muslims before and they're not. So I would say it's fair
That's
enough.
true. Actually, you have a good point. Never mind.
Yeah, so it's fair for us to show whether, because we've already established many times with many different people that they were lying. We started asking them basic questions about Islam, and they
Hmm.
do that because they want to play this psychological tactic. Oh, I was a Muslim before, I left Islam, so people are leaving when they were never even Muslims themselves. And many of these
That's
people have a
fair.
lot of Muslims around them, and because they
Hmm.
have a lot of Muslims around them, they can pick up information. That doesn't necessarily mean that you are a Muslim. Okay?
That's fair.
Can you
That's
tell
fair.
me?
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me how many times do you do istinja while you're doing ghusl?
So like we do all of it three times, right? Istinja should be three times as well, from what I remember. It's been a
Okay,
while.
you do 3 times istinja and ghusl.
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and when you're doing sujood,
Hmm.
which part of Surah Al-Fatiha do you say?
When we're doing sujood.
Uh-huh.
Oh, oh my God, I forgot. Okay, so it's been a while. It's hard to remember that, right? Because I've been through a lot going through this. I can't remember that detail specifically, and it's very emotionally charged
Mm,
topic. So my brain deleted it.
can see that in your
Ask me
face.
another easier question.
Sure. Okay. So, do you remember Surah Al-Fatiha?
Yes, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawm Ad-Din, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. I can go on.
Yes. Yeah. Go on.
اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. And then everyone says Amen in a group.
Perfect. And this is a perfect example of how many of the people who say that they were Muslim before even memorize Surah Al-Fatiha. So that's why we don't use Surah Al-Fatiha as a question anymore. Because they would go to the extent of memorizing Surah Al-Fatiha just to show that they were Muslims. But what they
Why
will
are
tell
they
you
lying
that
about it? Why are they lying about it? Why can't they just be
I don't
honest?
know. I think you need to tell us in this case because you're not being honest. So I think you're the prime
I will
example
tell
here.
you, actually. Good
Oh,
point.
oh,
Maybe
so
if
can you
they
tell
were
us why do
honest,
you? Yes, tell us.
why
You're
do
the prime
people lie?
example.
Yes.
Yes,
So
you
why
tell us.
do people who left Islam feel like they have to lie and talk about these things? Because if their parents or their relatives or anybody on this stream even sees their face or know that about these things, they will be criticized and judged by their community very much. And everyone has different living situations. Not
I
everyone,
don't.
all of you, not all of you, right?
What are you
But
talking about?
some people.
We
Hmm?
we are talking about people who were never Muslim before, who claim that they
Uh,
were Muslim.
I thought
to
you
what
were
their parents
talking
left
about.
to the.
I thought you were talking about
No,
Muslims who are.
no, no, no,
Sorry,
no. I'm talking about people like
my
you
bad.
who were never Muslim before, but then they're claiming that they were
Uh huh.
Muslim before. That's what I'm talking about. And so,
I
can you tell us
honestly,
why do you claim? So, can you tell us why do you lie and say that you were a Muslim before when you were never a Muslim? Why do you think people do that? Why do you do that?
maybe some of them do it to get a chance to talk to you, but if they don't,
Aha.
I honestly don't know. I have no idea. Like, why are
Aha.
you lying? If you're not Muslim, if you stand truly as a non-Muslim, if you know you're non-Muslim, admit it. Have a conversation about it. Why are you so afraid, right?
Okay, sure, sure. I
Yeah.
think we've done enough investigation when it comes to that. People already know whether you were a Muslim before now with the questions I asked you. There's no need. I don't need any more questions to ask. People have already made their judgment. I think
Yeah.
anyone with two brain cells who's a
Am
Muslim
I
would know
am I
whether you.
safe now? Am I safe, everyone? Okay, good.
I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, everyone now knows that you were never a Muslim, but that's a different story. Anyways, go ahead. Yes.
What?
Why
I
is the
was
question?
never.
Let's get to your questions. Let's get to your
I
questions.
was a Muslim, bro. I was a
Sure, sure,
Muslim.
sure. Of course, of course. We're just gonna leave the three times istinja with that we do in ghusl or the part of Fatiha that we read in sujood that you don't know. But we'll leave these parts now. You definitely know.
Just because I too.
Come on.
So here's the thing: people
Sure, sure.
forget. People go through a lot in life, and I don't have to remember this to prove I am a Muslim. In fact, people
Sure.
forget. Even Muslims sometimes forget if they're not close to God. So that argument does
Well, they
not
don't
work.
they don't they don't forget practical parts of their prayer.
Some
Let's
of
be
them do. There are Muslims
honest.
who do. They just
No, not
don't do
not
that
really.
well.
Not really. Do you know why
Well,
they
do you
don't?
know how
Because
many
they're all.
years?
I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why they don't. Because all of
Mm-hmm.
them are putting laughing emojis in the comment section. When I asked you the question, I didn't need to say anything. All of them
Mm-hmm.
instantly put laughing emojis because all of them know that this
Yes.
is such a basic.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a basic thing that every Muslim would know. And you
Yes,
don't
but
have to know.
here's the
I've already
thing.
exposed.
Do they know?
Anyways,
Do
look.
they know?
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going
Mm-hmm.
to argue too much about that. I've already established my point.
Yes,
From my
but
perspective,
if your
from my
voice is heard, my voice should be heard too, don't you think?
no, we don't believe in equal opportunity of presentation when it comes to whether you were this or you were that. That's not an important thing. I'll let you
Okay, you know
delve
what?
into
That's
important
fair.
details.
That's fair.
I'll let
Who
you
I
delve
am does
into
not
important
matter.
things.
You're right. You have a good point. Who I am does not
So let's
matter,
get to
right?
what you are now.
Let's
Yes,
get
let's
to
get to
why
what
I
you are
am.
now.
Okay,
Okay,
good point.
you said
So,
first. Let me repeat what you
mhm,
said because you said that Islam was a very respectful religion, this and that, until you
mhm,
investigated certain things. You thought
mhm,
Islam was very respectful religion, etc. Then you investigated certain things.
mhm.
That made an issue for you and led you to leave Islam.
No, it's more complicated. I didn't even say it. I simplified it. I can talk about
Okay.
how I left Islam, but yeah.
So that's not what we're gonna talk about right now. I want to know now. Give me your main question. Let's deal with
Mhm.
your main question. Whatever, like the main thing that was the reason is, oh, this is the biggest problem I have, and I'm gonna leave Islam right now because of that.
Mhm. Yes, what the main problem I have and that I'm gonna leave Islam for. So
Mhm.
Islam makes a lot of sense when it comes to God judgments, but I start to question the judgment of God itself and I see some problems. For example, a conversation I had with my uncle this afternoon was about, like how shirk, is the biggest sin for God. How God is saying, if we worship someone else with Him is worse and it's the biggest sin. Now, why is that the biggest sin? And it's not, let's say, someone killing a child for God. Why is God valuing that as worse, morally worse than, you know, someone killing another person? Let's start with simple things such as that. Go ahead.
So your main question, like I asked you, like very clearly, tell me what is your main question, main problem with Islam. Then you are telling me the biggest sin in Islam is shirk. That's my main problem with Islam. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm telling you one of the problems. Because first, I want to see if you can answer one of the problems that I'm going to
No, no,
present
no.
soon.
Give me the biggest problem, because if this is your biggest problem, it's really sad. Are you really
Okay,
telling me
fine,
your biggest
fine.
problem?
I'll give
Wait,
you the
are you
biggest
really?
problem.
Wait,
No,
let me just finish what
no.
I'm saying. Are you
Mm-hmm,
really telling me? You're trying to convince rational people that the biggest problem
mm-hmm,
with Islam, that Islam is strictly monotheistic, asking you to worship the Creator alone, who created
mm-hmm,
you and gave you everything in your life and created everyone around you, and due
mm-hmm,
to that, He's the only one worthy of that type of gratitude. and therefore it shouldn't be given to anyone other than God. And there is no biggest transgression that you could do, because you wouldn't exist. Nobody around you would exist if it wasn't for the Creator bestowing mercy
Fair.
on you and creating you to begin with.
Yes.
And to you, that is the biggest issue. Okay, please
Yeah,
give me something
I'll
as a
explain. I'll give you something more. Yes, I'll give you something more spicy. Okay.
No. It's like, this is not. We're not doing this for entertainment, Even though the beginning was entertaining, especially the Islam
Okay,
part,
fine.
we're not doing it for
I'll get
entertainment.
serious. Fine. I'll be serious. Fine.
No.
Okay.
What is the main? If you had one, I'll give you. This is one question, because I will have to end this. Just put your hand and say, this is my main problem. Okay, this is why I cannot be a Muslim. I'm not a Muslim, and I cannot be a Muslim.
I will do it.
The fact that Islam is strictly monotheistic, which is
okay. I'll do it. I'll do it
for Islam.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you okay? So here it goes. My main problem with Islam is that the ruling of God, I don't see it as fair, and it does not. God is not as merciful as He is. So God sends people to hell, and God does not allow people to think freely. That's my problem. There you go. God sends people to hell, and God does not give freedom of thought. It's freedom of thought under the threat of punishment. Therefore, it's not really freedom of thought. And you're trying to be good under the threat of punishment or to go to heaven. So the moral value of being good is decreased. It's not really you're being good because you want to be good. It's more you want to be good to get more points. So yeah, these are the problems.
Let me ask this question. Islam is wrong because God sends people to hell, and He doesn't give freedom of choice, according to you. Okay, so let me ask this question. How do you go to hellfire in Islam?
If you don't believe in God, and if you do certain things. I mean, if let's talk about if a person.
No. We're talking about. Are you talking about? Are you talking about limited punishment, or are you talking about eternal punishment? Which one are you referring to? We're talking about
eternal.
the main thing, which is, okay, so it's only one thing you can.
Hell and adab al-qabr as well.
Wait. There's only one thing you can do for that punishment, which is shirk and kufr. It's one thing you can do. There's no other thing that will lead you to eternal hellfire. Okay, now this eternal punishment. No, I don't need to define anything. This eternal punishment of shirk, and if someone does shirk and kufr, this eternal punishment, is it for everyone, or is it for specific people that hear the message and evidences of Islam first?
It's for people who heard the messages first. So does that count as us? Is that us too?
Step by step. It's for people who hear the messages and evidence of Islam. Number one. Number two, is it for people who heard the message and straight away they go to eternal punishment, or is it they're given the chance until they die?
What does giving the chance till they die mean? Because people go through a lot of things.
To accept the truth or not. That's what given the chance means.
They can't accept the truth. They can't accept the truth if they don't think it's the truth.
Can you answer the specific question that I'm giving you? Are they given from an Islamic point of view? Are they given chance to accept the truth until they die or not?
That's from an Islamic point of view, and yes.
No, even any point of view. Anyone can say I'm a Muslim today. Anyone can do that.
So from another point of view, Islam is not always the truth. No. So people.
Do you agree?
That's another point of view.
No. It's not about point of view. We're talking about facts. Can anyone come and say, I'm going to become a Muslim. I testify there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah and Prophet Muhammad is a Muslim. Can anyone do this? If they wanted to?
Okay, so yes, they can.
And would that mean that they're Muslims?
Yes, that means that they are Muslims.
Sure. So anyone has the chance to become a Muslim by saying that testimony of faith and entering into the fold of Islam. They will all hear the message of Islam and evidences of Islam first, and they will have until they die. Until whether they're punished or not punished. And that is the definition of choice.
What's the problem?
What we just established now, that people who go to hellfire is through their own decision making, i.e. their own choice.
No. It's because God takes them to hell. God takes them to hell. They're not going to hell. They didn't choose to go to hell. Nobody chooses to burn for eternity.
Okay, no need to interrupt me. God takes them to hell?
You interrupt me too. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
No, it's not. I'm interrupting you. I'm asking you questions, and when I try to get an answer from
Yes,
you don't give me. You don't just give the
yeah,
answer. You try
but
to say
here's
no.
the thing, right? I'm supposed to be the one who asks the question. You give the answers,
No.
but I feel like I'm being asked
Why
more
do you think that?
questions.
Why do
Hmm?
you think you're the one who's supposed to be asking the questions? Why do you think that? Plus, by the way, I asked you,
Okay,
what is your
fair.
issue with
Why do I
Islam?
think that?
No, no.
Yeah, that's my
Plus,
issue.
plus, plus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
plus I asked you what was your issue with Islam, which me giving you the floor to ask your questions. Literally, that's what I did. And what I'm doing right now is responding to your point. So it's not, I'm not like handling a conversation or something. You brought up the point first about the point of shirk, which I responded to briefly.
Okay.
And then you brought up this point of God putting people to hellfire. And when I'm answering it, you're telling me I'm not giving you a chance, which makes zero sense. These were your questions. These were your objections to Islam. And I was just responding to these objections. But anyways,
You're.
okay, I'm happy.
I
I'm
have a
happy.
response to your logic, though. I have a
Okay,
response to your response. You see, you gave me a
okay.
response, but I want to respond to your response. You're not letting me.
Yes, okay. I'll let you finish with your response to my response, and then I'm gonna give a closing statement because I will have to end here anyways because I don't see any point.
Sure.
But go ahead. What is your response to my
Well,
response? Yes.
well, here's the thing, right? They
Uh-huh.
didn't choose to go to hell, and God is the one who's sending them to hell. So God is the one sending them to hell. We should question why He's doing that. Not that people just chose to think differently. People chose to change their mind. People should be allowed to think whatever they want. There's enough suffering in this world. Why is there eternal hell afterwards for people who are, they just are not convinced that it's the truth? They're not convinced. They have the right, don't they? We were given free will. And if you don't know it's the truth, if you don't know it's the truth and you see it in your life, how are you going to, like, how is it a fair judgment, man? It's
Okay.
not.
Eh, Sure, sure. So let me ask this question, which
No,
is
no,
gonna
no,
give
no.
the
Respond to me
closing.
first.
No,
Respond to
my
me
question
first. Respond to
first
me
is you
first
don't
and give me a
first
response
you
to
don't
my
get
words.
first you don't get to tell me what to do. Number one.
Well,
Number
you
two.
don't. No, I
Number
don't
two.
get to tell
Number
you what
two.
to do, but I shall
Plus,
not
stop
talk if you don't
interrupting.
respond.
Plus, stop interrupting. First, you don't
Hmm.
get to tell me what to do. I didn't tell you how to respond to me. You responded the way you liked, and I will do the
I'm
same.
asking you to
My question,
respond.
which is I'm about to ask you, is a response. That's why I'll ask the question. The question I'm going to ask you: is it the truth?
Hmm.
What they believe is not the truth. Is it true or not true? You believe it's not true.
I believe what is not true. Be more specific.
Islam, or the punishment of God. All of these things. It's not true.
No, I believe if it's true, it's not fair and it should
So
be
Islam is the truth.
questioned.
So
But I
Islam is the truth.
believe No, I believe it's not true. But to think about it in an Islamic view, as an
No, no, no,
ex-Muslim,
no, no,
I
no,
thought
no.
about it. If
We're talking about people who you say don't accept the message because they believe it's not true. That's the only reason they wouldn't accept. Why would
yes,
you not
go
accept?
ahead.
You have to believe it's not true,
Yeah,
or otherwise you will accept.
you believe it's
Okay,
not true. Yeah, go
so let
ahead.
me get this. So the people who believe Islam is not true,
Hmm.
even though the evidence has been shown to them,
Hmm.
if Islam is not true, are they going to be punished?
If Islam is not true, they're not gonna be punished.
So then there's nothing to complain about, my friend, unless Islam is actually true, and they are going to die and go to eternal hellfire
There's
as
one
Islam
thing.
teaches,
There is
which is
actually
why
pause. There
allow
is
me to
actually
finish.
something to
Which is
complain
allow
about.
me to finish.
There
Allow
is.
me to finish. Which is why they're complaining, because they deep down know that Islam is the truth, and after
It's not that
encountering
they
the evidence,
know.
and
Mm-mm.
after, I know you like interrupting. I'm telling you. Allow me to finish what I'm saying. Because they deep down know Islam is the truth. Do you see why these guys are so concerned with hellfire? Because they deep down know Islam is true. And Islam says when you die upon disbelieving in the religion of Islam, you'll go to eternal hellfire. Otherwise, why would you be concerned? If you don't believe Islam is, if you think Islam is not true and you're convinced that Islam is not the truth, why would you worry? Whether what the God of Islam is going to say, he's going to send you here, he's going to send you there, he's not going to send you. Doesn't matter. He left now, but you guys have seen already. Clearly, this is not someone who was a Muslim before. You see the level of questioning, but I'll tell you, it's very important. You see the level of questioning that the people who quote unquote say they left Islam come with. He did. I don't think he was a Muslim before, from what we've already asked him. And even if he was, look at the type of questions. His issue with Islam is that Islam is a strictly monotheistic religion. And the second question is that people go to hellfire without choice after admitting that people can become Muslim if they want it. And the only way they go to hellfire is after hearing the message and evidences and dying upon rejecting these evidence and messengers. And if it wasn't true, then they have nothing to worry about. Why are they so pressed and upset? There's nothing to worry about if it's not true. If it is true, then you need to accept it and obey the Creator and submit to Him.